and last one, achievement recognition. For anyone who's been an area director, you'll start hearing some of those words that are quite similar to the area director report. Or if you're on a committee, maybe the area directors build up the report with them. So we'll quickly go through and just highlight a couple of the different areas. So you can have a look at what is the question asking you, or what can you do with it? And also maybe some new ways that things could be changed. What I'd also say with Moments of Truth is we have quite a unique opportunity at the moment to look at these questions and then go to another club, maybe it'd be another Irish club, somewhere in China, somewhere in America, and say, okay, this is how we do first impressions, but how does an American club do first impressions? Is it better? Is it worse? What new ideas can I get? And from you guys all know the drill now, you can literally sit at home and be anywhere in the world and see any club in the world and really get inspired by some ideas. Some of these just jump straight up. So the idea of Moments of Truth is that you've got a rating scale at the top. For some reason, the numbers aren't showing. But you'd say you'd give 1 point of each of these boxes if you never meet the standard. If you rarely do it, you get 2 points. If you sometimes do it, you get 3 points. If you usually do it, 4 points. And the gold standard is we always meet this mark. So you get 5 points of that. At a very simple level, you literally put some numbers in each box. You count up your results at the end, and then you can say, well, I've got 30 marks here, I've got 4 marks here, we need to improve this area. So first impressions, looking at this from a Zoom point of view, obviously you can look at it from a physical point of view. Are guests greeted warmly and introduced to officers and members? So when somebody logs onto your meeting, they have no idea where they virtually are, they probably have no idea who we are as Toastmasters. Does the guest just sort of sit in the background, or do you say, hi, who's there? Hi, Bennis, you've joined the meeting. Great, where have you come from? Have you ever been before? Does your club have that engagement? Convenient meeting location should be quite obvious on Zoom, but at the same time, how do they get those Zoom meeting details? Is there an auto registration where you would register in the same place and you automatically get emailed the details? Or do people have to trawl through emails to get it? Again, guest book and name tags, it's not applicable online, but when they do join, they'll have, so I've got Tanya Barad written just here. Do you put, say, Tanya Barad guest, or some way so that people know somebody's a guest? And are the guests invited to join? So as I said, this is looking at your club from a guest point of view. Are they welcome? Are they involved? Or do they just kind of sit there sadly in the corner for 2 hours? If you feel that your club doesn't do this, then this could be a really good way as a committee to get together and say, this is what we should work on. And again, if you're not sure if you do this well, go and see another club and say, okay, I was a guest at somebody's meeting. Did they greet me? And how did I feel about that? Was it a bit OTT with people clapping every 2 seconds? Or was it actually a nice, friendly place that I felt comfortable in? Membership orientation. So this is how does somebody come from being a guest to being a member? Now, I've been in some pre-charter clubs before where everything's a bit crazy because you've only got 3 members and everyone's doing a bit too much work. And you get a new member join and it's great, but because you don't really have a process in place, they join and then a couple of weeks later, someone's like, are they a member? We don't really know who's a member and who's a guest. So how do you turn them into a guest? Do you have a formal induction? Now, I'm not saying to get 5 marks, you have to literally line them up, give them a pin on them, clap them in, have a club vote. I know some clubs do that and it might work for your area, but for your club, what works? What we've started doing is announcing at every meeting, and then we've got a little PowerPoint PDF, a PowerPoint where we stick their name in the date and we email them over a certificate. And our main aim is we want them to have a date or some acknowledgement that they've done something, they're a member, but we also want everybody else in the club to know that they're a member, because there's nothing worse than paying a bunch of money for nobody to even know that you're one of them. And do you assign them a mentor straight away? Do you give them speaking roles? Do you assess their learning? Now, again, there's a lot of technology that can go into membership orientation. In my personal club, I'm going to go on about Google Forms a lot because I'm new to it and I love it. But with Google Forms, we found that they can answer the questions online. So there's no filling in a piece of paper and then signing it, taking a photo or emailing it over. They can do it online. And then from that Google form submission, they automatically get an email which will say your VP is going to assign you a mentor. And the VP is CC'd on that email, so they get told that they have to assign a mentor. They get information about the education system. It tells them how to pick up their first speaking role, and also tells them how to get involved in other forms. So again, using the new technology available, we can say you're a member now in the club, here's all the information, automate your processes. It might be an option for your club. Fellowship and variety and communication. So again, this is about getting that Toastmasters culture, your safe space where you can learn safely. So it's always a bit of a hard one. Are your meetings fun? I've never met anyone who says, no, my meetings are boring and I'm still a member. So again, it's quite hard to understand that one. So maybe try and get some guest input from it. Again, are your guests welcomed and greeted? Do you have social events? A lot of people are doing sort of your pub quiz style on Zoom. They're having inter meetings, so 3 or 4 clubs would join and have one meeting. There's a lot, again, that we can do to make meetings more fun, especially if you're missing that social interaction. This potentially could be where people are dropping. Now, what I would expect to start improving is members participating in the area, district and international events. Personally, I'm finding that we're getting a lot more people go to the area contests that are happening at the moment. That technology usage is making it easier. But again, how do your members know about these events? Are you logging in a WhatsApp group? Do you have a website where they can see a calendar of the next events? And do you have things like I said, websites, newsletters? Are they actually up to date? Our club website isn't heavily used, I must admit, so we don't promote it as a source to go to, but we use WhatsApp very heavily instead. And we've even got a club meeting WhatsApp group so we can, I know, discuss roles. And then we've got a random social group because we found people just kept talking and we were missing all the actual interactions, the important stuff. So we created a whole group just to be interactive with people. Program planning and meeting organisation. So this is, again, it's very heavy. You can see the area director report coming out here. Do people get the agenda on time? Now, if you're using Easy Speak, that should be quite a simple answer. If you're using email or WhatsApps, or hopefully not calling people up in advance, but do people know how to get the information? Do they actually take on their roles properly? And if they're not, then maybe, so if people just turn up, do the role, it changes last minute. How do you get people to take on that accountability and responsibility for the roles? Big one, are they doing pathway speeches? I know that will vary from club to club. And if they're not doing the speeches, I know it's a big thing on people's minds, they know it. And do you have helpful evaluations? Do you have creative table topics? Membership strength's a simple one. Do you have 20 members? There's nothing subjective about that. You have a website that will tell you how many members you have. But do you retain them? Do you have membership building programs? And then lastly, the achievement recognition. Do you actually submit your awards to Toastmasters International, or do you sit on them for a couple of months because maybe the VP isn't fully trained? Do you publicise your progress charts? So do you have like a big DCP, I guess in the old days, banner on the wall? Nowadays, it might be about you, when the president does their president's welcome or ending, maybe they can highlight a big DCP at the end of every meeting. And do you recognise members? Again, for us, we use the same process. We have a PowerPoint presentation. We put their name and say you've achieved level 1. And then the Sergeant at Arms will email that over every time they achieve something. So one thing I found, at least in English clubs, is we're quite shy. So if you say to somebody, I'll print off my certificate, I'm going to give you the certificate for you to give it back to me in person, we don't do that. So then nobody knows. And you've got somebody 3 years down the line who everyone goes, they've only done a couple of speech. You're like, no, they're a DTM. Letting members know what level people are at or what progress people have made, it really does help to keep that member retention. So they're, at their heart, they're quite basic questions that is asked at your moments of truth. What I would say is the hardest part is how do you use it? You can ask people to fill in a bunch of boxes, but you got to do something with those results. Now you could use something like Google Forms, replicate these questions, and then ask your club members to fill it in. So yeah, you could ask your club members to fill it in. Realistically, it's quite hard to get every single member to fill this in. So maybe you say, okay, after 2 weeks, we'll see what results we've got, or only the committee are going to do this. That's something really to say, what's your criteria for getting it filled in? Do I want every single member to participate? Do you want guests to participate to understand the first reactions, impressions, or maybe get some visiting Toastmasters in? So decide who you want to answer this. Once you've got all the results in, that's absolutely fine, but you've got to do something with it. So my personal suggestion would say, find out your 1 or 2 weakest areas. So if you're saying your membership strength may be low, because a lot of clubs have lost members due to coronavirus and Zoom meetings, and then maybe you feel your fellowship, variety and communication, again, people are getting a bit stagnant with the online meetings. So you can say, these are the 2 areas that our club should work on. Again, my personal suggestion would be, take 2 or 3 points. You don't want to say you're going to change the world, because you can't do it all overnight, but take maybe 2 or 3 of the main points that your committee feels the strongest. Say, we are going to do this. So for example, if you don't feel you're greeting guests warmly, you say, okay, we'll make a new role in the club, we'll have a meet and greet, and that person, what do they actually have to do? So you assign a role, you say what they've got to do, get a committee members to do the first 1 or 2 meetings, and then come back in, say, a month or 2 months' time. How do we feel we've improved on this? This is such a powerful tool, but if you just fill in some numbers in a box and then put it in a drawer, it's a bit of a waste of everyone's time. So you've got to get the results in, say what you're going to change about it, and then at the end, come back and say, have we done well? Now, if you have improved, again, my suggestion would be to recognise that. It is literally one of the things on this form to say, do we recognise members? So if you've done well, come back to the club and say, we've improved in this. I want to thank Joe Blogs for doing the moments of truth and actually making our guests feel better, and put it into really relatable terms. Now, what I'd like to do, we're about halfway through the education run now. So I'm going to ask Danny Banks I'm going to ask Daniel Sanders to open some breakout rooms. And there should be about 5 or 6 of you per breakout room. And if you take each of the different headlines, so first impressions, membership orientation, fellowship, variety and communication, we'll assign each of those per group. And I'll put the link to this in the chat. Oh, people have been talking to me while we're here. So the link is in the chat. If you all open that, if you can, on your side, so that you've got it for when you go into a breakout room, and just discuss for 5 minutes 1 to 2 things you could do in your area that would improve. So if you have a group that gets given first impressions, what could be done to improve this? Whether or not, I know, to have the Zoom meeting location on your website, or have pre-registration for guests maybe. Daniel, would you be able to, so before we go into that, are there any questions around sort of what we're going to do over the next 5 minutes? I'm going to stop my share so I can see you guys. Everyone comfortable with what we're going to do when we go to a breakout room?
I just have a question. Is it 1 topic per breakout room, or do we look at every topic in each breakout room?
To be honest, I was going to say 1 topic per breakout room, but it's probably actually going to be better for you guys if you pick something that you feel a bit more passionate about. So have a look at a group and very quickly say, which subtopic do we want to work on? And like I said, you've got 5 minutes, as a group, work it out. We'll come back and say, can somebody deliver for 1 minute a tip or a recommendation you've got on the chosen one? If people are repeating it, it's not that big a deal. It just means that you feel that's the area that would help you the best. So yeah, pick any of the topics that you like on the Moments of Truth form. Thank you, Michael. Okay, Daniel Daniel Sanders, would you be able to open the breakout rooms, please? You should get a pop-up on your screen saying go to a breakout room. Please accept it when that happens. I see you all there.
Just let you know, I was in breakout room 4. There's nobody there. Is there anybody who can put me into another breakout room where there's people available? Are you looking to get into the breakout room, Alan? Can you hear me, Alan? China 2, cool.
Hi, Mish.
I hope that wasn't too short a notice for them all, Tanya.
They had, I've seen shorter notices, shall we say. We said 5 minutes, it's been about 6 or 7.
You didn't tell us to do some work, Tanya.
No, but you should know better.
Yeah, have to put my video on.
I said all rooms have closed.
Okay, we should all be here, I think, in a second. Is everybody back, or?
They're not going to answer if they're not back.
It was more a question to Daniel because he can see the breakout rooms. I should be able to.
All the rooms have closed. There's 22 people. They should all be here.
Okay, brilliant. Yep, we've got 22. So I know that was very short and it wouldn't have been very in depth, but hopefully you can start to see the basics of even how one small little box can actually really open up quite a big discussion with a lot of ideas that you can start get going. We said beforehand that if one person from each group can just give a quick 1-minute highlight of what they discussed, After 1 minute, I'll put a green background on. Justin from our group has very kindly volunteered. So Justin, you have 1 minute. If you could just sum up the things that you learnt from our breakout session.
Okay, hello everyone. So we were focusing on probably two areas. I joined a little bit late, so maybe I missed some early feedback. But first of all, we talked about first impressions being an important aspect of this because most clubs have lost members due to COVID. Not all members are going online, so we need to set ourselves up for success in terms of how we greet our guests, including visitors and Toastmasters. And a couple of suggestions were proposed. Finding time before the meeting starts to have a conversation with the visitors, also giving them an opportunity to speak at the end or at the break of the meeting. The focus should be around the visitors and making them feel welcome, making them feel comfortable, giving them the opportunity to see if that is something that they want to continue. And the challenge, I think, is for the club to rally round and make the guests feel special and have that energy. That's the 1 minute summary there. I see the green light is on.
Thank you very much, Justin. I would say really good points, but I was in a meeting with you, so I'm a bit biased. Anybody else like to speak from their group? We should have 5 more people to 6 groups. Hilda, are you volunteering?
No, I wasn't volunteering, but I don't mind speaking if you want. So
You've got the floor now if you want it.
Okay. So we were discussing membership and how we have with the recent COVID lost members. Some people have left due to the fact maybe they're a little bit intimidated with technology, or they might be working on Zoom all day long, so the last thing they want to do is log in the evening. So we were talking about how we would bring moments of truth to the club, and I think most of us agreed it would be a good idea to bring to the committee, maybe email it, give them some time to answer the questions, and then pick maybe 2 or 3, as you were talking about, areas to concentrate on for the next while and see what areas we can improve. So that's what we discussed.
That was almost 1 minute. I think it's a great approach, like you said, chat to your committee, get the results in, and then focus well on 2 or 3 points rather than focusing on 40, so you can actually get that work done.
Yeah.
Who is our 3rd volunteer?
Yes, hello.
Abby.
Okay, I saw John Fernando's hand go up first, so you got the floor, John.
Thanks. I was in a group with Margaret in Venice, and our idea was kind of building on what Justin had talked about. So in that first impression piece, the idea was if your meeting's going to start at 7 o'clock, if you ask people to join at 6:45 or 6:50, and then separate them into breakout rooms right at the start, then you can have new members with experienced members or guests in smaller breakout rooms where they have the chance to chat. Whereas if everyone comes into a big room like this, if a couple of people are speaking, it's very hard to engage other people in the room. So it kind of replicates that idea of when you have the in-person meetings, experienced members could chat to guests and see new members and things like that at the start of the meeting. I think Venice has posted our other thoughts into the chat in this room as well, but it was around also renaming guests, engaging the guests at the start of the meeting to see if they'd be interested in taking part in table topics. And the final bit, yeah, was around encouraging guests to speak through engaging with them early on.
Okay. I actually love that idea. I've not considered using the breakout rooms as a way to take the guests out individually, speak to them rather than just being thrown in a crowd of 30 people. So I love that idea. We are coming to the end of the educational, so apologies to those other 3 people who are probably desperate to get their word in. But yeah, you can relax now, no more talking. what I would say is, again, you've seen how to use a form. You embrace technology. That's one thing I think we can all learn after the last 6 months. If Toastmasters has been exceptionally inventive about how to use technology. One of the things we mentioned in our group is the use of, say, Google Forms and automation. So a member could fill out a Google Forms and it could automatically email both them, the VPE, the VPM and the treasurer, and saying your VPE will assign you a mentor. Then the member knows what's going to happen. The VPE note is prompted of what to do. And again, it's about use of technology. The final tip I would give is, once you've worked out what you want to improve on your moments of truth, again, use something like Facebook. Moments of truth, we've got like 130,000 clubs or something ridiculous, and everyone is doing the same thing. So if you're saying, I want to make a better first impression with my guests, go on Facebook on, say, the official Toastmasters group or the Toastmasters D71 group and ask, and I guarantee there's about 20 to 50 people in each of those groups who live on Facebook, and they will give you some tips, some ideas and things that have worked well for them. So go out, find out how you're going to do the MOT in your club and get moving on, hopefully, to really start improving your clubs in a way that you guys feel you best should. Now hand back over to Danny Banks.
Well, we have got some time, Tanya, if you want to say anything else.
I think I covered it all. I'd only be repeating what I was saying anyway, so.
Okay, Daniel, do you want to talk about the incentives from the district in terms of MOT?
Yes, I'll do that. As the email said this morning, I published the detail of the incentive on the district website. And basically what I'm setting you the challenge to do is to set your club an improvement goal or two based on what you find in the Moments of Truth exercise. Discuss that with your area director or another district officer if you happen to have one handy, division director, and set yourself that SMART goal for your club to improve something significant, something that will really benefit your members. And the clubs that tell me they've done that and send me the meeting agenda with the Moments of Truth activity in it, things like that, they'll go into a draw on the 1st of January. So that implies a deadline I need to know before the 1st of January. And 50 clubs will take it out of the draw, will take a share of €500 towards their club expenses. Now, if only 10 clubs succeed in conducting the Moments of Truth and setting a goal and telling me, then a 10-way split of €500 is €50 each per club. Simple maths. And the second part of that is, if you've notified me of the goal that you've set your club before New Year's Day, and you invite that district officer back to prove that you've succeeded with that, and you can show him the benefits, then those clubs will go into a subsequent draw on the 1st of May, and there'll be 25 prizes of €25. Again, simple maths. If only 10 clubs make it into the draw, that's quite a bit of money to go around, isn't it? And it's your treasurers can claim it off club expenses and put it through Concur, and the finance manager will pay it. It's not about gift certificates this year. How's that sound? Is that motivational? If you want to give a club a good spur to get them off their laurels and go for something to leave you as a president or whatever a great legacy.
Yeah, is that it, Daniel?
Yeah, that's the incentive. Do you want more?
Well, we can come back to it. I just want to see how many people actually in their clubs have done a moment of truth in the last year. If you just put your thumbs up, if you know how to put your thumbs up, at the bottom of your screen there's the little reactions box. If you click on that, there's a thumb there. Don't do the funny face. So how many have done it in the last year? in the last 2 years. After tonight, who is going to try it in their clubs? Well, that looks like success. Nearly everybody's got the thumbs up. Because excellent. What, for me, is the key issue is you can see all the moments of truth, and you can see how they fit into your club. So it's what we should be doing as clubs, isn't it? We should be welcoming people. We should be developing people, and all these things that are on that moment of truth. That's what we should be doing, and that's what will make us a better club. But the thing is, for me, for moments of truth, and I think Tanya's explained this really well. For me, one thing is, how do you go about actually collecting the information? Do you send it via a Google Doc? Do you have a breakout group before the club? Do you break it up into weeks? And then you might get different people, because I know my club's Leicester, and the people we get one Thursday night, half could be different the next time we meet. So how do you ensure consistency? I think these are some of the issues with the MOT. And also the second point is, I used to work in teaching. I used to be a teacher, and we collect statistics about everything. We collect statistics about how many kids got 5 A to C's, how many got, only 10% or whatever. We collected all these statistics, but if you don't do anything with it, there's no point collecting it. So again, I suppose, and this is something that Tanya raised, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to, is it just a tick box exercise, or is it going to be something to help your club develop? And we've got a few minutes, so if people want to contribute or any questions, we've got some experts here to answer your questions, Daniel and Tanya. So anybody? Justin.
I would just encourage the leadership team to consider one suggestion, and that is that there's been a lot of good efforts being taken in terms of educating members who turn up at these sessions. But I think that in order to actually reach the wider group, it'd be good to have some sort of best practice checklist. So in other words, we're enabling the clubs to pick up a checklist of ideas or actions that they could take. Some of them can be selective, some of them can be more specific, based on their scenario. So I just wonder, when we talk about collecting metrics and all that, I just say, look, do you know what? All this material that we're learning, it's not available in one place in terms of the best practice. We've made a good start in terms of having the this program being presented. I think it's all about trying to gather good ideas and good suggestions and best practice that individual clubs have adapted for their purpose. But you can imagine the power that would have if that came into the hands of each of the club committees and say, look, okay, if you're struggling, have a look at this best practice checklist.
Yeah.
There might be some suggestions there that might fit your needs or might better suit your needs. So I just wonder whether anything exists out there. I certainly haven't seen anything.
It's interesting. It was very close to an idea I thought of last week where I saw in another district, and they were producing a sort of an A4 poster cheat sheet on the key concepts behind each training webinar. But what you're alluding to goes slightly further, which is actually synthesizing some of the discussion into a best practices for COVID encyclopedia, no, knowledge source of some kind. so that people can, you know, all of these ideas thrown up in discussions, that somehow they're synthesized and drawn in as a resource for everyone to benefit from. I like the idea. It's getting the legwork done.
Just
I mean,
a quick, oh, sorry, Danny.
So go on, no.
Yeah, I would be a bit careful with using the word best practice, because the first thing that pops to my head is you should do this regardless of whether or not it suits. And the MOT, one of the fundamental things about it is tailoring it for your club. Every club is very different. If you're meeting up on a Saturday morning compared to a Tuesday night or work lunch times, you're not going to have the same thing. And the best practice, I like the word cheat sheet. I think it works really well, although it's not really cheating. The best practice can be a bit forcing ideas. People will feel they have to follow it, even if it doesn't work for them best.
I think there's an opportunity for something of what Justin's alluding to go maybe on the district website, so that people could maybe, and I take on board what you're saying about, you know, you're not saying that this is the only way, but these are some ideas. And I think for me, when I come to training sessions, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the value in it is actually listening to what other people are doing, you know. And I've picked up a couple of ideas listening tonight of what we could take, what could we take away, and what we could use at my club. So I think there is some mileage in having some sort of checklist, cheat sheet, whatever you like to call it.
I was just going to chip in as well, Danny, that there's definitely a space that exists between the terror of a white sheet of paper and an overly prescriptive list of thou shalt do this and that and the other. And each club's solution lies in between those 2 points somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think the terror of a blank sheet of paper with your back up against the wall is worse than seeing somebody else's ideas and thinking, oh, well, we can perhaps adapt this.
Yeah, true. Margaret,
yeah,
I think your hand was up.
Well, 2 years ago, we had a huge problem in our club with people coming and leaving after about 6 months. I was membership person and I just got into VPE, and all I was doing was bringing them in, training, and they were gone. And I was getting worn out. So we decided I'll do moments of truth. So how we did it, and I'm sure you could do the same thing. This is how we did it, but you could do it in breakout rooms at a meeting. So I literally got this moments of truth. Well, I have it here myself. You know, the sheet that it's basically the questions you have, and I copied every section onto a sheet of paper. So every section had, like the first impressions one was on a sheet of paper. So I broke up the 20 people in the room into groups, and I gave each group a sheet of paper, and I asked them to get into a group and talk about and rate give the points to that, and we gave them 15 minutes. So then I had a flip chart, and we put up the points on it, and it was staring out at us. We didn't even have to discuss it. It was there. So it was orientation of new members into the education program, and it was that little bit is where we were falling down badly. So then we decided, well, what are we going to do? So the committee had to take it on board. So we asked for suggestions, and it came back to mentoring, that we needed a mentoring program and we needed a mentor manager. But we had to ask one important question. And the question is, what did you come to Toastmasters for? What did you want to learn? And are your needs being met? So I think we really have turned it around, because we've retained 82% of our members since then. So I think it's really worth it. I mean, I think Tanya said it, when you see the points set up from each section, you don't even have to ask, it's staring out at you. It's a brilliant thing to do. And it includes everybody in the club, like the members get a shock as well, because they don't, a lot of members, if they're not an officer, don't think about what's going on behind the scenes. So it's a way of forcing them to think about what's going on in the background. So I think you could do it by polling, enabling polling and doing it that way. in a meeting, or you could do it in breakout rooms. I think it would be very interesting.
Yeah. Good
One thing
point.
just to add, oh, sorry, Danny.
No, go on, Tanya.
Yeah, just another thing to ask is the committee does a lot of stuff in the background. Everyone knows that. I mean, you got your members that just turn up. Your moments of truth, if you engage them more like this, they really do feel part of if it's successful, they feel like they're part of the reason that the club has done well. And that should really help engage and retain those members as well. So well done, Margaret.
Michael, did you have a question?
Hi. Yeah. So I was quite impressed with what Margaret was saying. It really, for me, the challenge is getting people to fill in the form. And I can appreciate people have talked about Google Docs, as was mentioned earlier. I might ask the secretary to set it up, be something for the secretary to do. And also, I feel, I suppose, with the Google Docs that it'll be there for next year and the year after. It's not going to go away. We could reuse it as such. They'll be the things I've been thinking. But it's the challenge of really, A, to produce something, and B, to get most of the members to fill it out. I'm sure if I see the numbers in front of me, we could all do things, but it's just getting those numbers. That's not just 4 out of 17 who replied. They're kind of the challenges I would see as such, because we could put a lot of effort into this and, oof, not much to get back, so they're the thing that I want to see, No, it's a very good thing to do. Definitely for not doing it than not doing it, and the fact that it lasts is a good thing also, I find.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the crucial point, is what you're going to do with it when you've made all this effort. Sorry, Katja, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I had a follow-up question to Margaret, and maybe it fits in with Michael's question as well. In order to get the most out of the MOT and having most of the members filling it out in any way, either in one of the meetings or by a Google form or anything, I was wondering if they, asking Margaret particular now, did you ask members only that were in this particular meeting, or did you send it around telling other members, please come into that meeting because we have this form and we would be interested to have everybody's voice in it? Because we have a lot of members ourselves now that don't come, but normally are very good members and regular members, but they just don't come because they don't have the space to have a digital Zoom meeting at home with the children running around, or the capacity anymore. So, but it would be really important to have their feedback as well.
Yeah, I think, the face-to-face meeting is a great way of doing it. And I think I would do it in the Zoom meeting. I did it for a half an hour, and we didn't do topics that day. And I felt that was really good, because people in a room interact much better than at home, because I think when you're asked a question straight out, you give the honest answer. When you're at home, you have time to be thinking about it. But I do think that if a lot of your good members aren't coming to meetings, like we're lucky, we have a lot of members come to meetings, but if you have good members, I would send them out the form, or send them, you could do a survey, you can do up a survey or send them out Google Docs and get their feedback as well. But I do think in the room or on Zoom is the best way, I would think, to engage myself.
But you are generally right. There is a danger of a self-selected bias whilst we're on Zoom, that we're only canvassing opinion of people who've already half adapted to Zoom. And it's even the same that in a face-to-face meeting, the loudest voices are not necessarily the most insightful, and it takes good facilitation to draw out the true depths of feeling in the room from people who perhaps are having a ho-hum experience of the club.
And what my suggestion would be is Google Docs, you can't analyse it as well as Google Forms, but send out the results to everybody before the meetings. So you could maybe set aside 5 minutes and say, everyone in this meeting, fill out this link. But if you can capture the people before, especially if they know they can't make the meeting. And to be honest, the moments of truth make a really good high performance leadership project or DTM project. And if you've got one person doing it as a one-off task, you can say, try and reach out to people. If you've got the people on WhatsApp or Facebook, you can do those individual chasing up of maybe some of the people that don't come to meetings as much. And if you're doing it for a year on a committee, you don't normally, it's a lot harder to do it for every single task. If you've got one person doing it as a whole DTM project, it could be a really good way to get them to really engage with those members who aren't normally engaging.
Justin, one last word.
Yeah, I actually take a different view on it. Years ago, we found a good way of actually approaching the moments of truth is to do bite-size updates. So basically what would happen is that each meeting, there'd be an opportunity for someone in the club, probably a committee member, to just call out one aspect of the moment of truth. So let's say, for example, I was asked to call out just to be aware that there's a moment of truth that Toastmasters has. One section of that is first impressions. Justin, what's your view on that? And I'll give a short bite size of what that is, and then the president would ask somebody who is new member or a visiting guest to give some feedback. So at that moment in time, we've only had a minute or two just to bite size oversight of one aspect of the moment of truth, and then next meeting there's another aspect of the moment of truth. I think that people get switched off when they're asked to fill in forms and that sort of thing. I think people are more switched on when they get a bite size or something and they grab on a simple concept or simple idea, and that was very effective. And we tried something similar with the Toastmaster promise. What are the Toastmaster promises that we want? So just an idea out there. People are not filling in forms or engaging with surveys, then maybe that's an approach.
Yeah. Right, okay, well, we've finished our hour, and I suppose finishing on bite size is perhaps a good word to use, because we're trying to create these bite-size training sessions of an hour for people. And I would like to thank very much Tanya for delivering our first one this week. So a big round of applause for Tanya, thank you. And I'd also like to thank Daniel for his input and being Zoom master. And I'd like to thank all of you for giving up your time for your clubs tonight to come and find out about Moments of Truth. I hope you'll go away and with your committees discuss how you're going to do it. And so we've had lots of ideas tonight, whether bite size, whether Google Docs, breakout rooms, whatever. And also the next question, what are you going to do with it when you have collected all this information? So thank you very much. One thing I would just like to say is we are trialing these training sessions. Before Christmas, it's Tuesday night. We just chose Tuesday night at random. Next week, there is a training session on how to run a speechcraft and youth leadership program. So if your clubs are struggling for members, maybe a speechcraft going out into the community is some way of publicising yourself, or doing a youth leadership program. We've also got topics coming up on crushing your fear of public speaking, and also how to create a great club environment. If you actually look at and I know you've all read last month's newsletter, if you actually go on September's newsletter, there is a list of all the training that's going on in October. And we are trying to think of ways of getting the message out to people. So if you could share that with your club officers, with your other clubs, I would be very grateful. And once again, thank you very much for giving up your time, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And can I say that I took the liberty to fill your chat box. I suppose if you want to save them, then you can just save the chat and you will have all those for reference.
Yes, it'll save automatically on my computer, as will the recording, and we'll distribute them to whoever's interested after the meeting, Venice.
I hope it makes sense.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Right, I've got another meeting to go to, so I'll shut this one down quite quickly, guys. Thanks for your inputs.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Daniel. Thank you, Tanya.
Guys.
Bye.
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 Bye, Mish.
Bye.